The massive fleet of human warships moved through space toward Nexus Prime, their hulls gleaming under the light of distant stars. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the flagship UES Victory, watching the alien capital world grow larger on the main screen. After 3 years of careful diplomacy and proving themselves worthy, humanity had finally been invited to join the Galactic Council. Captain Lisa Barnes checked the navigation systems one more time. The journey had taken 2 weeks through hyperspace, and her crew was excited about this historic moment. Behind them, 12 other human vessels followed in perfect formation. Commander Rick Stone's escort ships flanked the main group, their weapons powered down as a sign of peaceful intentions. "Admiral, we're receiving a welcome transmission from Nexus Prime," reported the communications officer. "They're directing us to dock at Platform 7. Morrison nodded and straightened his dress uniform. This was the moment humanity had worked toward for decades. First contact with alien life had happened only 50 years ago. But humans had proven themselves capable allies in several small conflicts around the galaxy's edge. Now they would sit alongside the 12 ancient races that had maintained galactic peace for over 2,000 years. Ambassador Kate Wilson joined Morrison on the bridge. She had spent months learning about each council species and their customs. The reptilian Vortak were known for their military precision. The crystalline Nexari communicated through harmonic frequencies. The gaseous Zephyri existed in environmental suits filled with methane. Each race was unique, and each had contributed something valuable to the Council's success. "Ambassador, are you ready for the ceremony?" Morrison asked. "As ready as anyone can be for something this important," Wilson replied. The Council representatives seemed genuinely pleased to welcome us. "Chancellor Zethmore of the Vortak has been particularly supportive of human membership." Chief Engineer Paul Davis emerged from the lower decks, wiping grease from his hands. "Admiral, all systems are running perfectly. The Council's technology upgrades they provided last month have improved our efficiency by 30%. Their generosity continues to amaze me." Morrison smiled. The Council had indeed been generous. Over the past year, they had shared various technological improvements with humanity. Better power cores, more efficient life support systems, and enhanced communication arrays. It was exactly what one would expect from a benevolent alliance of advanced civilizations. The UES Victory docked smoothly at the massive space station orbiting Nexus Prime. Through the viewports, the crew could see representatives from all 12 council races gathering in the main reception hall. The station itself was a marvel of engineering, built from materials that seemed to shift and change color in the light. Morrison, Wilson, Barnes, Stone, and Davis formed the official human delegation. They walked through corridors lined with artistic displays from each council world. Vortak battle sculptures stood next to Nexari crystal gardens. Zephyri gas paintings swirled in contained chambers while musical instruments from the amphibious Cyrni played gentle melodies. The reception hall was enormous, with a domed ceiling that showed real-time images of space around the station. Hundreds of alien beings filled the area, their different forms creating a fascinating display of galactic diversity. At the center stood a raised platform where the 12 council leaders waited. Chancellor Zethmore of the Vortak stepped forward. His reptilian features showed what humans had learned to recognize as a friendly expression. "Welcome, humans of Earth. Today marks a historic moment as your species joins our ancient alliance." The Nexari High Speaker's crystalline form chimed with harmonious tones that the translation devices converted to words. "Your courage in recent conflicts has proven your worth. We are honored to call you allies." Other council leaders offered similar greetings. The ceremony proceeded with traditional rituals from each race. Morrison found himself genuinely moved by the warmth of the welcome. Humanity had struggled for decades to prove they belonged among the stars, and now they were being accepted by civilizations thousands of years older. After the public ceremony, the council leaders invited the human delegation to a private meeting. Wilson had expected this. There would be administrative details to discuss, trade agreements to establish, and protocols to review. They gathered in a smaller chamber with walls that seemed to be made of living metal. The 12 council leaders arranged themselves in a circle, with the humans standing in the center. Morrison noticed that the friendly expressions from the ceremony had changed to something more serious. "Now that the formal welcome is complete," Chancellor Zethmore began, "we must discuss certain realities about your species' future in the galaxy." Wilson stepped forward. We're ready to hear whatever guidance you can offer. Humanity is eager to learn from your experience. The Nexari High speaker's harmonic voice carried a different tone now. Your species has certain characteristics that concern us. Your rapid technological advancement, your aggressive expansion patterns, your tendency toward conflict. Morrison felt a chill run down his spine. I'm not sure I understand. We've proven ourselves as peaceful allies. A new voice spoke up. The Aquari Depth Lord, whose water-filled environmental suit bubbled as he communicated. Peaceful for now, perhaps, but our analysis of human history shows a pattern of conquest and domination. Left unchecked, your species will eventually threaten the stability we have maintained. What exactly are you suggesting? Barnes asked, her hand instinctively moving toward her sidearm. Chancellor Zethmore's reptilian features shifted into what was unmistakably a predatory smile. We have decided that humanity must be contained before you become too powerful. The invitation to join the Council was necessary to bring your primary fleet away from Earth's defenses. The truth hit Morrison like a physical blow. This is a trap. Indeed, the Zephyr representative's electronic voice confirmed. Your fleet will be destroyed and Earth will be subjugated. You will serve as a client species under Council oversight, never again to pose a threat to galactic stability. Stone's voice was tight with controlled anger. Our weapons are powered down. Our shields are running on minimal power. You planned this. The technology upgrades we provided included certain modifications, the Nexari admitted. Your ship's defensive systems will fail when we activate the appropriate signals. Your fleet cannot escape or fight back effectively. Wilson's diplomatic training kept her voice steady, even as her world collapsed around her. You're making a mistake. Humanity has only ever sought peaceful cooperation. Your intentions today are irrelevant, Chancellor Zethmore replied. We have observed thousands of species over the millennia. We know the signs of future aggression. Humanity displays them all. The Council leaders began filing out of the chamber, leaving the humans under guard. Morrison looked at his officers and saw his own determination reflected in their faces. The galaxy's oldest alliance had just revealed itself as humanity's greatest enemy. They had been betrayed, but the war was far from over. As alien guards escorted them back to their ship, Morrison began planning. The Council might have superior numbers and technology, but they had made one critical error. They had underestimated what humans would do when backed into a corner. The human fleet prepared to leave Nexus Prime under the watchful eyes of Council patrol ships. Admiral Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Victory, his mind racing through possible escape plans. The Council had revealed their trap, but they still needed to get the human fleet into position for the ambush. Captain Barnes monitored the departure procedures while trying to appear calm. The Council had provided new navigation data for their return journey to Earth, claiming it would reduce travel time by several days. Every human officer now understood that this new route would lead them directly into an ambush. Admiral, the communications officer reported quietly. We're receiving what appears to be a routine system update from Council Traffic Control. They say it's required for safe passage through their territory. Morrison exchanged glances with Barnes. The system update was likely the final piece of the trap, malicious code designed to disable their ship's defenses at the worst possible moment. But refusing it would alert the Council that humans knew about the betrayal. Download the update, Morrison ordered, but have Chief Davis isolate it from our main systems. We'll play along for now. Commander Stone's voice came over the secure channel from his escort vessel. Admiral, my engineering team has detected some unusual code in that system update. It looks like it's designed to override our shield generators and weapon systems. Understood. Keep analyzing it, but don't let them know we're suspicious. The fleet moved away from Nexus Prime and entered hyperspace. The Council's patrol ships escorted them to the edge of the system before turning back. For a few hours, the humans were alone in the swirling colors of hyperspace, traveling toward what they now knew would be their destruction. Chief Engineer Davis worked frantically in the engine room, trying to understand exactly how the Council's sabotage would work. The malicious code was sophisticated, designed to activate only when their ships dropped out of hyperspace. Once triggered, it would shut down shields, disable weapons, and prevent them from jumping back into hyperspace. The good news, Davis reported to Morrison, is that I think I can delay the sabotage for a few minutes. Maybe long enough to get a message to Earth. Do it, Morrison ordered. Earth needs to know what's coming. Ambassador Wilson spent the journey reviewing everything she knew about Council technology and tactics. If any humans survived the coming battle, they would need every advantage to warn Earth and prepare defenses. The Council had been secretly limiting human technological development for years, she realized. Every generous gift had probably been designed to keep humanity dependent and weak. The hours passed slowly as the fleet traveled through hyperspace. Every crew member understood they were flying toward certain death, but discipline held firm. These were the best officers and sailors humanity had to offer. Volunteers who had accepted the risks of first contact with alien civilizations. Lieutenant Sam Miller sat in his fighter cockpit, checking his weapons one final time. The small escort fighters weren't much compared to alien battleships, but they might be fast enough to escape and carry word back to Earth. Pilot Officer Amy Clark ran through emergency procedures on her ship, memorizing everything that might help her survive the next few hours. All ships, prepare to drop out of hyperspace, Barnes announced. Remember, we need to look surprised when the ambush begins. Give our people time to analyze the situation and maybe save a few lives. The swirling colors of hyperspace faded away, replaced by normal space filled with stars. For a moment, everything seemed peaceful. Then the sensors lit up with contacts, hundreds of them, surrounding the human fleet in a perfect sphere. Council warships from all 12 races hung in space like waiting predators. Massive Vortak dreadnoughts bristled with weapons. Crystalline Nexari ships hummed with energy that made the surrounding space shimmer. Sleek vessels from the other Council races completed the trap, their weapons already trained on the human fleet. Shields up, Morrison ordered, knowing it was futile. All weapons to maximum power. The response was immediate. Warning lights flashed across every console as the sabotage code activated. Shield generators shut down with grinding mechanical sounds. Weapon systems went offline one by one. Even the navigation computers stopped responding as the malicious code spread through their systems. Admiral, we're completely defenseless, Barnes reported, her voice tight with controlled fear. The sabotage worked perfectly. The Council fleet moved closer, their weapons charging for the killing blows. A transmission came from the lead Vortak dreadnought, Chancellor Zethmore's reptilian voice filled with satisfaction. Humans of Earth, your aggressive species ends here. You will serve as an example to other primitive races who might threaten galactic stability. Morrison grabbed the emergency communication system, hoping Davis had managed to bypass the sabotage. All ships prepare emergency messages to Earth. Tell them everything we've learned about the Council's true nature. The first volleys from the Council fleet struck the outer human ships. Without shields, the vessels exploded instantly, their crews vaporized before they could even scream. Commander Stone's ship took a direct hit from a Nexari energy beam, but not before his communications officer managed to send an encrypted burst transmission toward Earth. Message away, Admiral. Stone's voice carried over the radio, just before another alien weapon tore his ship apart. The UES Victory shuddered under enemy fire as Morrison made his final decision. The flagship still had engine power, and the Council command ship was close enough for a ramming attack. It wouldn't save the fleet, but it might give the escaping fighters a better chance. All hands abandon ship, Morrison ordered. Fighters, break formation and run for Earth. Barnes looked at her admiral with respect and sorrow. Sir, I'm staying with the ship. So am I, Davis added over the intercom. Someone needs to make sure we hit that alien command ship hard enough to matter. Lieutenant Miller's fighter broke away from the dying fleet, its engines pushed far beyond safe limits. Behind him, he watched the UES Victory accelerate toward the massive Vortak dreadnought. The alien ship tried to move, but the human flagship was too close and moving too fast. The collision was spectacular. The UES Victory's hull crumpled against the alien dreadnought's shields, but momentum carried the human ship through the energy barrier. The two vessels smashed together in a ball of fire and twisted metal that lit up space for several seconds. Pilot Officer Clark's fighter joined Miller as they raced away from the battle. Her sensors showed the systematic destruction of every remaining human ship. The Council wasn't taking prisoners. They were making sure no one survived to tell Earth what had happened. This is Fighter 7, Clark transmitted on the emergency frequency. Admiral Morrison and the fleet are gone. We're the only survivors. Miller's fighter had sustained damage from debris, but his engines were still functional. Fighter 5 confirming. We have the Admiral's final data download about Council technology and invasion plans. Earth needs to know what's coming. Behind them, the Council fleet began moving toward human space. The trap had worked perfectly from their perspective. Earth's primary fleet was destroyed, and the home planet would be defenseless against the coming invasion. They had no idea that two small fighters carried information that would change everything. The survivors pushed their damaged ships through hyperspace, racing to reach Earth before the Council's invasion force. They carried more than just news of the fleet's destruction. They had proof of the Council's deception and detailed intelligence about alien technology and tactics. The war between humanity and the Galactic Council had begun with betrayal and slaughter. But the Council had made one critical mistake in their perfect ambush. They had left witnesses alive, and those witnesses were carrying the tools Earth would need to fight back. Lieutenant Miller's damaged fighter dropped out of hyperspace near Earth, its engines failing just as the home planet came into view. Pilot Officer Clark's ship was in slightly better condition, but both fighters had been pushed far beyond their design limits during the desperate flight from the ambush site. Earth Control. This is Fighter 5 with emergency priority transmission. Miller broadcast on all frequencies. Admiral Morrison's fleet has been destroyed. The Galactic Council has betrayed humanity. The response from Earth's orbital defense stations was immediate. Within minutes, rescue ships were racing toward the survivors, while military commanders prepared for the worst news they had ever received. General Ben Carter, head of Earth's planetary defense force, was already in the situation room when the two pilots were brought in. "Tell me everything," Carter ordered as soon as Miller and Clark had been checked by medical teams. The two pilots shared their story while technicians downloaded the data Admiral Morrison had managed to collect before his death. The intelligence revealed the Council's true nature, their plans for Earth, and most importantly, detailed information about their technology and tactics. Dr. Helen Ross, Earth's chief scientist, studied the captured data with growing excitement and horror. The Council had indeed been limiting human technological development for years. Every gift they had provided was actually inferior technology designed to keep humanity weak and dependent. "General, look at this," Dr. Ross said, pointing to her screen. "The power cores they gave us are running at maybe 30% of their actual capability. Their weapons technology is centuries ahead of what they shared with us. They've been keeping us in the technological dark ages." President Alex Turner arrived at the command center as reports came in from around the globe. Every world leader was demanding answers, and panic was beginning to spread through the population. The president looked exhausted as he reviewed the situation reports. "How long do we have?" Turner asked. Clark checked her fighter's sensor logs. "Based on the Council fleet's position when we escaped, maybe 4 days before they reach Earth. They're not hurrying because they think we're defenseless." General Carter called up Earth's current military assets. The numbers were grim. With the primary fleet destroyed, humanity had only patrol ships, system defense boats, and converted civilian vessels. Against hundreds of advanced alien warships, it would be a massacre. "We need options, people," Carter announced to his staff. "What can we do with 4 days?" Dr. Ross had been studying the Council technology data nonstop. "There's something here about their communication networks. They use quantum entanglement for instant communication across their empire, but the system has a weakness. It's vulnerable to specific electromagnetic interference patterns." Commander Tony Walsh, the highest-ranking fleet officer still alive, looked up from the tactical displays. "What kind of interference?" "The kind we might be able to generate if we modify our industrial infrastructure," Ross replied. "Every factory, every power plant, every communication satellite could become part of a massive jamming array." President Turner activated the emergency powers that had been prepared for exactly this kind of crisis. "Do it. Authorization code Prometheus 77. Every resource on the planet is now at your disposal." The next 4 days saw the greatest mobilization in human history. Factories that had been producing consumer goods were converted to weapons manufacturing. Mining ships were fitted with missile launchers. Civilian transports received armor plating and particle beam weapons, hastily assembled from industrial cutting tools. Major Kelly Foster coordinated the orbital defense platforms, trying to position Earth's few real warships where they might do the most good. The plan was simple: make the Council pay for every mile of space as they approached Earth, buying time for the electromagnetic weapon to be prepared. Commander Walsh took charge of the improvised fleet. Cargo haulers, mining vessels, and pleasure craft had been transformed into warships by desperate engineers working around the clock. The crews were volunteers, civilians who understood they would probably die but refused to let Earth fall without a fight. "This is insane," Walsh muttered as he looked at his fleet of converted civilian ships. "We're sending mining equipment against the most advanced military force in the galaxy." "Sometimes insane is all we've got," Foster replied from her command station. "Our ancestors fought off alien invasions with wooden ships and cannons. We'll make do with what we have." Dr. Ross worked with engineer Matt Brown to finalize the electromagnetic interference weapon. The theory was sound, but they had never tested anything on this scale. Every power plant on Earth would discharge simultaneously, creating a focused electromagnetic pulse that might disrupt the Council's quantum communication network. "If this works," Brown explained to the command staff, "their ships won't be able to coordinate attacks or share targeting information. They'll be fighting blind." "And if it doesn't work?" Turner asked. "Then we're all dead anyway," Ross admitted. The Council fleet appeared on Earth sensors exactly when predicted. Hundreds of alien warships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system, their formation perfect, and their weapons charged. They moved toward Earth with the confidence of predators approaching helpless prey. Chancellor Zethmore's voice echoed across all communication frequencies as the alien fleet approached. "Humans of Earth, your species' aggression ends today. Surrender now and accept client status under Council rule, or face complete destruction." President Turner's response was broadcast on every frequency. "The people of Earth reject your demands. We will fight for our freedom." The battle began at the outer defense perimeter. Major Foster's orbital platforms opened fire with everything they had, their weapons upgraded with salvaged Council technology from Morrison's data. The aliens returned fire with casual efficiency, treating the human defenders as a minor nuisance. Commander Walsh led his improvised fleet in a desperate charge toward the Council formation. Mining ships with jury-rigged weapons fired everything they had at the alien vessels. Most of their shots were absorbed by advanced shields, but the sheer volume of fire began to tell. "All units, focus fire on the Nexari ships," Walsh ordered. "Intelligence suggests their crystalline structure might be vulnerable to sustained bombardment." The human vessels swarmed around the alien fleet like angry insects. They were outgunned and outclassed, but their willingness to sacrifice themselves began to worry the Council commanders. Several alien ships took damage as converted freight haulers rammed them at full speed, but the tide of battle was clearly against humanity. One by one, the improvised human warships were destroyed by superior alien technology. Foster watched her orbital platforms explode under concentrated fire, while Walsh's fleet dwindled from dozens of ships to mere handfuls. "Dr. Ross," General Carter called over the communication system, "we need that electromagnetic weapon now." "Charging all power plants," Ross replied. "This is our one shot. Every generator on Earth is about to discharge simultaneously." As the Council fleet moved closer to Earth, preparing for the final assault that would break human resistance forever, Dr. Ross activated the device that would change everything. Every power plant, every satellite, every piece of electronic equipment on Earth suddenly focused its energy toward the approaching alien fleet. The electromagnetic pulse that resulted was unlike anything ever seen before. Space around Earth lit up with energy discharges as the focused interference hit the Council ships. Their quantum communication networks, so advanced and sophisticated, proved vulnerable to the crude but massive electromagnetic storm that humanity had created. The effect was immediate and devastating. Council ships began firing on each other as their targeting systems failed. Formation flying became impossible as navigation computers crashed. The perfectly coordinated alien fleet suddenly became a confused mass of ships struggling with system failures. "It's working," Foster shouted as she watched alien vessels collide with each other. "Their communications are down." The battle for Earth had turned in an instant, but the war was just beginning. The electromagnetic pulse continued to wreak havoc on the Council fleet. Dr. Ross watched her monitors in amazement as alien ships fired randomly into space, their targeting systems completely scrambled. Several Vortok dreadnoughts had collided with each other when their navigation computers failed simultaneously. "The pulse is propagating through their quantum networks," Dr. Ross reported to General Carter. "It's spreading to ships that weren't even in the original blast radius. Their own communication system is carrying the virus deeper into their fleet." Commander Walsh saw the opportunity and rallied his surviving ships. All units press the attack. Hit them while they're confused. The remaining human vessels charged into the chaotic alien formation. Mining ships with welded-on missile launchers fired everything they had at disabled Council vessels. Cargo haulers used their heavy manipulator arms to tear chunks out of crystalline Nexari ships. The improvised human fleet might have been outmatched in normal combat, but against enemies who couldn't coordinate their defenses, they became surprisingly effective. Captain Steve Johnson piloted his modified fighter through the maze of alien vessels, carrying the special payload Dr. Ross had prepared. The fighter had been stripped of everything except engines, life support, and a single devastating cargo, a computer virus designed to spread through the Council's quantum networks. Johnson, you need to get as close as possible to their command ship, Ross instructed over the radio. The virus needs direct contact with their main communication array to propagate properly. Johnson's fighter dodged between alien vessels that were firing blindly in all directions. A Zephyr cruiser nearly clipped his wing as its damaged steering system sent it spinning out of control. The Council fleet was in complete chaos, but the electromagnetic effects were already beginning to fade. Dr. Ross, how long will the interference last? General Carter asked. Maybe another 10 minutes, she replied grimly. Their systems are already beginning to adapt and restart. We need to make this count. The Council command ship, a massive Vortak dreadnought, loomed ahead of Johnson's fighter. Its weapons were offline, but emergency power was bringing defensive systems back online. He would have one chance to penetrate their shields and deliver the virus directly to their communication array. Johnson pushed his engines to maximum power and dove straight at the alien ship. Point defense weapons came online just as he reached their outer shields, filling space around his fighter with deadly energy blasts. His ship shuddered under multiple hits, but momentum carried him through the shield barrier. Uploading virus now, Johnson transmitted as his fighter crashed into the dreadnought's communication array. The impact destroyed both his ship and a large section of the alien vessel, but not before the virus had been successfully transmitted into their quantum network. The effect was even more dramatic than the electromagnetic pulse had been. The virus spread through the Council's communication system like wildfire, turning their advanced technology against them. Ships that had been recovering from the electromagnetic interference suddenly found their weapons targeting their own allies. Major Foster watched from her command station as the alien fleet tore itself apart. General, their ships are attacking each other. The virus is making them think every other vessel is an enemy target. The battle turned into a nightmare for the Council forces. Vortak dreadnoughts fired their main guns at Nexari crystal ships. Aquari vessels launched torpedoes at their own escort cruisers. The sophisticated fleet that had arrived to destroy humanity was destroying itself with ruthless efficiency. But the real breakthrough came when Colonel Nina, Parker's assault team, returned from their mission to the lunar surface. The Council had established a forward command base on Earth's moon, expecting to coordinate the invasion from close range. Parker's commandos had fought through alien defenses to capture critical intelligence. General, Parker reported as her team's shuttle docked with the orbital station, we've got the location of every Council homeworld, their industrial centers, and their military production facilities. The aliens were so confident they didn't even encrypt their strategic databases. Sergeant Ryan Davis and Corporal Laura Green had fought alongside Parker through the lunar base, gathering every piece of intelligence they could carry. The information they brought back revealed the true scope of the Council's empire and its vulnerabilities. There's more, Parker continued. We found evidence that the Council has done this before. They've destroyed dozens of species they considered problematic. Entire civilizations wiped out because they showed signs of future aggression. Dr. Ross studied the captured data while the battle continued in space above them. This changes everything. Look at these star charts. The Council controls nearly a quarter of the galaxy, but their forces are spread thin. Most of their ships are on patrol duty or garrison assignments. President Turner looked at the tactical display showing the remains of the Council fleet. Less than half of the alien ships were still functional, and those were damaged and confused. The electromagnetic weapon and virus had turned a certain defeat into an unexpected victory. What are our losses? Turner asked. General Carter checked the reports coming in from all fronts. Heavy, but not as bad as we expected. We lost most of the improvised fleet, but the orbital platforms are still functional. More importantly, we've captured intact alien vessels and technology. Engineer Matt Brown was already coordinating salvage operations. "Sir, if we can reverse engineer their technology properly, we won't just be able to defend Earth. We could take the fight to them." The idea hung in the air as the command staff considered its implications. Humanity had been betrayed and nearly destroyed, but they had survived the Council's ambush and defeated their invasion fleet. The question now was what to do with that victory. Commander Walsh's voice came over the communication system from his battered command ship. "General, we're getting surrender requests from the surviving alien vessels. They want to negotiate. Tell them we'll accept nothing less than complete surrender," Turner replied. "They wanted to destroy us. Now they'll face the consequences." As the last Council ships powered down their weapons and prepared to surrender, Dr. Ross made a discovery that would change the course of the war. Hidden in the captured lunar data was information about other species that had resisted the Council's rule. Humanity wasn't alone in the galaxy. There were potential allies out there, civilizations that had been suppressed or destroyed by the same enemy. "Mr. President," Ross said quietly, "I think we need to consider the possibility that this war isn't just about Earth's survival anymore. The Council has been committing genocide across the galaxy for centuries. We might be the first species strong enough to stop them. The battle for Earth was over, but the real war was just beginning. Humanity had proven they could defend themselves against superior technology and numbers. Now they faced a choice that would determine the future of the galaxy: accept their survival and remain on Earth, or take their newfound strength to the stars and ensure that no other species would face the Council's betrayal. Admiral Morrison and the crews of the Lost Fleet would be avenged. But the scale of that vengeance would be beyond anything the Council could imagine. 6 months after the battle for Earth, Admiral Susan Lee stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution, humanity's first true warship built with captured Council technology. The vessel combined human engineering with alien innovations, creating something more powerful than either species had achieved alone. Behind her, a fleet of similar ships prepared for the largest military operation in human history. The captured Council data had revealed everything: the locations of all 12 homeworlds, their industrial centers, military bases, and communication hubs. Dr. Ross and her team had spent months analyzing alien technology, improving it with human innovations that the Council had never considered. What they created was a fusion of alien sophistication and human determination. "Admiral, all strike groups report ready," Captain Chris Adams announced from his position at the tactical station. His ship, the UES Vengeance, would lead the assault on Vortak Prime. Similar task forces were positioned throughout the galaxy, ready to strike simultaneously at every Council stronghold. Commander Grace Miller checked the status of her stealth ships, vessels designed using a combination of human ingenuity and captured Nexari crystal technology. Her squadron would hit the Nexari homeworld, targeting the massive crystal cities that served as both population centers and communication arrays. The plan was simple in concept, but devastating in execution. 12 strike forces would attack all Council homeworlds simultaneously, preventing them from coordinating a defense or evacuating their leadership. The virus that Captain Johnson had sacrificed himself to deploy had been refined and improved, ready to spread through the Council's quantum networks and turn their own ships against them. "Remember," Admiral Lee broadcast to the entire fleet, "we're not just avenging Admiral Morrison and our lost crews. We're ending 2,000 years of Council tyranny. Every species they've destroyed, every civilization they've suppressed. This is for all of them." President Turner's voice came over the secure channel from Earth. "Admiral, you are authorized to proceed with Operation Prometheus. Show the galaxy that humanity keeps its promises." The attack began with perfect coordination. 12 human fleets dropped out of hyperspace simultaneously, catching the Council forces completely by surprise. The aliens had never faced an enemy capable of striking multiple targets across such vast distances, and their response was chaotic and ineffective. Captain Adams led his ship straight into the heart of Vortak Prime's defenses. The reptilian species had built massive orbital fortresses around their homeworld, but human intelligence had identified their weaknesses. Modified mining charges designed to crack asteroids proved devastatingly effective against alien defensive stations. "All ships focus fire on the command fortress," Adams ordered. "Take out their communication center first. The UES Vengeance and her escorts poured concentrated fire into the Vortak command station. The alien defenders tried to respond, but their targeting systems were already being corrupted by the improved virus spreading through their networks. Within minutes, the massive fortress exploded in a ball of fire that could be seen from the planet's surface. Commander Miller's stealth ships struck the Nexari crystal cities with surgical precision. The crystalline aliens had built their civilization around massive living crystals that served as both homes and communication devices. Human weapons designed specifically to shatter crystal structures turned the alien cities into clouds of glittering debris. Target the resonance frequencies, Miller instructed her weapon operators. Make their own cities sing themselves to pieces. The attacks continued across all 12 Council worlds. Human forces had studied each alien species carefully, designing weapons and tactics specifically to exploit their unique vulnerabilities. The Aquari underwater cities were destroyed by pressure weapons that imploded their habitat domes. The gaseous Zephyri colonies were dispersed by atmospheric processors that broke down their methane environments. But the humans weren't simply destroying everything in their path. The captured Council data had revealed the locations of suppressed species, civilizations that had been enslaved or driven to near extinction by Council policies. Human ships rescued survivors and offered them the chance to reclaim their homeworlds. Captain Danny White led a rescue mission to Cernai Prime, where the amphibious species had been reduced to a handful of survivors working in Council labor camps. His ships fought through automated defenses to reach the prison facilities where the last Cernai were being held. "This is Captain White of the human fleet," he broadcast to the confused alien prisoners. "Your species is free. The Council will never threaten you again." The systematic destruction of Council infrastructure was as methodical as it was complete. Human engineers, led by the principles that Matt Brown had developed, didn't just destroy alien facilities. They made sure they could never be rebuilt. Industrial centers were reduced to molten slag. Shipyards were turned into asteroid fields. Communication networks were permanently severed. Admiral Lee coordinated the attacks from her flagship, watching as 2 millennia of Council dominance crumbled in a matter of days. The aliens had never faced an enemy that could strike everywhere at once, and their response was fragmented and ineffective. "Admiral, we're receiving surrender offers from 7 different Council species," her communications officer reported. "They're offering complete capitulation." "Tell them it's too late for surrender," Lee replied coldly. "They had their chance for peace when they invited us to join their Council. They chose betrayal instead." The final phase of the operation targeted the Council's military production capabilities. Human ships equipped with the improved virus infiltrated alien shipyards and weapons manufacturing centers. The virus spread through every computer system, every communication network, every piece of automated equipment. Within hours, the Council's entire military-industrial complex was not just destroyed, but actively working against them. Automated shipyards began building ships with critical flaws. Weapons factories produced ammunition that would explode in the user's face. Communication arrays broadcast human propaganda instead of Council orders. The war that had begun with humanity's betrayal ended with the complete collapse of the Galactic Council. Their fleets were destroyed, their worlds devastated, and their ability to threaten anyone eliminated forever. The ancient alliance that had ruled the galaxy for 2,000 years was reduced to scattered survivors begging for mercy. Captain White stood on the ruins of Nexus Prime, the former Council capital that was now a field of twisted metal and broken crystal. He planted a human flag in the debris where the Council chamber had once stood, the same chamber where humanity had been betrayed 6 months earlier. "For Admiral Morrison," White said quietly. "For all the crews we lost. For every species the Council destroyed. Never again." Admiral Lee's final transmission went out to every corner of the galaxy, broadcasting on frequencies that every intelligent species could receive. Her words were translated into thousands of languages as they spread across the stars. "This is Admiral Lee of the human fleet, speaking to all free species of the galaxy. The Galactic Council's reign of terror is over. We offer friendship to those who seek peace, protection to those who need it, and annihilation to those who would threaten the innocent. The galaxy belongs to all of us now." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Dozens of species that had lived in fear of the Council for centuries emerged from hiding. Some had been driven to the edge of extinction. Others had survived in remote star systems, All had stories of council oppression and genocide. Humanity's war of vengeance had become a war of liberation. The species that had been betrayed and nearly destroyed had become the galaxy's new protectors. Admiral Morrison's sacrifice had led not just to Earth's survival, but to freedom for countless civilizations across the stars. The Council had made one final, fatal mistake. They had assumed that destroying humanity's fleet would break their spirit. Instead, it had unleashed something far more dangerous than they could have imagined, a species with nothing left to lose and the technological capability to make the entire galaxy pay for their betrayal. The age of the Galactic Council was over. The age of humanity had begun.